Good evening. Welcome to northern Maine. It's winter time, as you can see. It's been a pretty snowy day. We got all kinds of wet, heavy snow, sleet, and freezing rain last night. I thought I'd take a couple of minutes and do a walk around of this old Ariens snowblower. This is a bit of an odd model. As near as I can tell, this machine is about a 1988 vintage. As you can see, it's well used. It's got a lot of use on it. I bought this machine in, I believe, 2012. I gave a guy $50 for it. The carburetor was messed up on it. It was all full of water and didn't run good, and he was having problems keeping the belt on to drive the auger. I took it to the garage where I worked and gave it a good going over back then. I was able to resolve the problem with the belt blowing off in it. Apparently whoever had the auger housing disengaged from the wheel drive unit, when they put it back together, they didn't get the brake shoe engaged in there right, so the brake shoe was riding on the belt all the time and it kept burning the belt off in it. I was able to get the carburetor straightened out and got that so that it works pretty good again. I'm just going to tell you this right now. These machines like these are the best snowblower that I've ever used. This thing is pretty much completely worn out. Everything on it's worn everywhere, but it continues to keep working. It still does a pretty good job blowing snow even. There's a few things that I really like about this machine compared to newer machines. One of the things that I like is this. There's no cables on this to control the wheels or to control the engagement for the auger, and it's got mechanical linkage for the shifting. Those are, you can't beat that. I don't care who you are. Those newer machines, those stupid cables on them are awful. One of the other things that I like about this machine, I like the, I'll have to move this camera down so you can see. I like the differential lock. You just pull this little knob and lock it into place to disengage the lock in, and you turn it again and let it go and it'll lock in. I really like that feature. That works good. I like a snowblower that has a differential in it. Some of these newer pieces of trash that don't have any differential in them are just awful to run because it's locked solid all the time. At one time, this unit had a cab on it at one time, and I don't like a cab very much because I'm quite tall and I have problems with them. When I tilt the machine, the cab hit the top of my head. It also had a cable up here for to adjust the chute on it. Of course, that's long gone. I mean, but you know, I don't need that. I can still grab a hold of that and move it if I need to. The old Tecumseh engine, It's an 8 horsepower. This, like I was saying before, this machine is it's an ST 828. It's 8 horsepower, but it's got a 28 inch wide bucket on it, which it wasn't a very common machine. The model number on this is Ariens. It's a 924077. From what I understand, they were only made just a few years. It's a little bit underpowered if you get into deep snow with it, but it keeps right on going. I mean, that engine, they only rated it 8 horsepower, but I think, like my lawnmower's got an 8 horsepower Briggs on it, and it mows just as well as a lawnmower that's got a 16 horsepower motor on it. And I mean, yeah, this lugs a little bit, but I don't know, it just seemed that these Tecumseh engines seem to have a lot of torque. They lug down, they slow down a little bit, but when they get them right into the power band, they really pull good. This thing starts excellent. That's one of the things that I like about it. Even when it's really cold, you push the primer ball a few times, put the choke on, and it'll usually start first or second pull. That's one of the things that I really like about this machine. It doesn't burn very much oil still. Obviously this thing hasn't been taken the greatest of care of over the years. The guy that I got it from, it was never stored inside. It stayed outside for a good deal of its life, so the thing's pretty rusty. In fact, a couple of years ago, I had to take the bucket off and put a new cutting edge on it. The whole bottom of the cutting edge was rusted right out of that thing. While I had it apart, I put a new bearing in the auger housing and tightened everything up. I've never touched the drive system in it. I don't know why it still works. I've never put a drive disc in it. I've never touched nothing. I took the cover off in it a couple of years ago and lubricated everything and greased all the shafts up in there, but the chains are all loose and sloppy, and the gears on the differential are worn quite bad. The axle bearings are worn quite bad in it, but it just keeps right on running. I keep expecting to have to replace this thing, but it just keeps going. I lucked out a couple of years ago. I actually was able to find a parts machine for this that somebody wound a cable up into, and they stripped the gear out on the auger. But this isn't a paid promotion either. I mean, I'm just saying, any of these Ariens machines from the 1970s clear up into the middle or the late 1990s, these things are an awesome machine. If you're in the market for a used snowblower, I would highly recommend one of them. It's true that the old Tecumseh engines are obsolete now. They've gone out of business, and I think there's still some aftermarket parts available for them. I don't really know. I've never had to put any parts in this one yet. But I'll start it up here just for a second, just to give you an idea of how well it runs. As you can see, it still runs just like an old Tecumseh ever did. But anyways, yeah, if you find an Ariens like this, any of them old 924 series Ariens, buy them up and fix them up, because they're well worth it. As long as that big brass gear isn't stripped out in your auger housing, them things are darn near bulletproof. You can't kill them. I have never had any problems with this thing cutting off shear pins either. Like the newer, there's an old MTD yard machine sitting behind the camera here. That thing's the worst piece of garbage that I ever owned in my life. But anyways, I'm gonna cut this video off here, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope the guys that are big fans of Ariens snowblowers like this. This machine is completely unrestored. I have no intentions of restoring this machine. Everything is so worn out on it, it would be impossible to put this machine back to brand new. But as long as I can keep it running and keep using it every winter, I'm going to keep running her. I'll run that thing until something major blows up on it. Motor blows up or something like that. But even if the Tecumseh engine does blow up on these, you can buy those newer Honda clone engines that I guess will bolt pretty much right on in place of that engine. You can keep on running, but I think you'd be pretty hard pressed in a very cold climate to beat that Tecumseh engine, because they have that winter shroud around the carburetor, and I'll tell you what, that's the only way to go. Them things run super good, and even in the coldest of weather. Anyway, I guess I can't say too much more about that machine. It doesn't have too many negative things about it. I'll take the camera out here and show you one of the things that does irritate me just a little bit about this machine. When the snow is wet and heavy, the snow sometimes has a tendency to build up around the shafts in here, and it'll get into a big rotating ball of snow, and then the thing has a tendency to ride up on the snow. That's really the only thing that I don't like about that snowblower. Other than that, it's excellent. It's very comfortable to run. The controls are easy to reach on it. The handlebars are the right height for me to run that machine. It's got good wheel traction power, and those old tires that are on that, I think they're still the original tires. They get a really good grip. I never put tire chains or anything on that machine. But anyways, I've run my mouth long enough here. Have a great evening. See you guys later.